Barsanti. I'm CEO and founder of StorageLife. We're doing a big webinar in less than 30 days. If you want to know more about any of us or the webinar, www.storagelife.com. I'm really excited to go over how we've been able to turn small amounts of capital and down payments into large sums of money that we're going to dive into. Let's dive in. So again, how do you take 50, 100, 150K and turn it into millions of dollars? We're going to actually give you live case studies of how we've done that. This all started with one first purchase, like you guys either have already purchased or you're going to purchase. And in our journey, it started with a multifamily property. How did we buy that multifamily property? Pounding the pavement. You guys all know we're huge. The StorageLife community is huge on pounding the pavement, looking for off-market deals, right? Direct to seller. This deal was an 11-unit apartment building we found during COVID on Craigslist in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That deal I bought with a coach. So there's going to be a bunch of little lessons throughout this quick story. One is I bought it with a coach. Yes, that's right. I had a coach. We've always had coaches. We've had almost 10 coaches in the duration of the last 6 years. It's what expedited our process, my wife and my process into this journey. And I saw the property. I was about 3 days late to the party. I called my coach because I knew he was investing in that area. He's like, oh, I already have an offer in. And I also hit up another investor I'd been talking to on Bigger Pockets. So again, this started with actually hiring a coach and also just building rapport with the stranger on Bigger Pockets, who is now and later to become my best and ultimate business partner in self-storage. Called him and he's like, oh, I already got a cash offer on the deal. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm 3 days late, you guys. I've been watching my kids because of COVID. So long story short, what happened is my coach, I think, kind of rubbed her the wrong way with the retrading on his offer. It was a seller finance. The other guy, Todd, the guy on Bigger Pockets, we'll call him for today, was still the lowest, like a low offer, but cash. And we kind of organically ended up kind of coming at 3 different ways on this deal. And it ended up kind of like we were bidding against ourselves, and we whittled down the seller and then we just bought it together. It was crazy. It was my first big aha moment of, wow, there are people out there. At that point, Todd had been investing for 25 years. And how would a seasoned investor like that want to do deals with somebody like me? It was amazing. He didn't need the money, but we did it. We teamed up because he was also looking to grow. Big lesson. So we bought this 11-unit apartment. So fast forward, 3 storage deals later was a deal in Albuquerque that I bought with that partner, Todd. How we bought it is we 1031'd this small apartment building into that. Now, the way to do that was our third partner wasn't in storage. He wasn't going to be in storage. We got him out of the LLC prior to closing, and we're able to 1031 that into a deal, okay? That deal we paid $1.3 million for. We had made about $63,000 or so each profit, so about 120 on that 11 unit. And then we had to put up a little bit money down, about a down payment of $375,000, roughly, something like that. And so it was a lot of money for my wife and I, but we borrowed it, private money, friends and family, 401ks, because we really liked this storage facility and we decided to go for it. So we 1031 into that deal. So now we own that deal in Albuquerque, not too far down the road. We bought another deal for $500K, and that's what started this title today, but there's a lot of layers to this. And so this deal we bought in Tulsa. How did we find and buy this deal? So I was in Tulsa looking at another property. I called my VI, said, hey, Mauricio, I'm going to be in Tulsa for 3 days. Go back onto our CRM, find all the sellers' information in our CRM in Tulsa, and pound the phones for the next 24 hours. I'm here. Tell literally these sellers I'm going to meet them in person. He did it, and he got a lead. He got actually a couple leads, but one was a gentleman that wasn't in town, but he said, go look at the property. Had I not been there, I probably would have never pursued this lead because it was scary. It was like, you look on Google Maps, it's distressed. It almost looks like a junkyard, but I was there, so I went and checked it out. So we looked at it. Manager was on site. He was very helpful. He lived there, very redneckish in a good way. And we kept him. We bought the facility. Now, during due diligence and talking to this manager, we realized we were close to a war zone. Guy said he heard gunshots at night, but really this area was just in this immediate pocket, looked like just kind of a very quiet neighborhood. And he verified that as well. He's just like, we're close to a bunch of crime. I bought that and was comfortable with that. The purchase price was really low. Why we got it for $500K is because the seller had an old appraisal and he's like, I want this. And we're like, hey, that makes sense. We're good on that. And it was rough. I mean, there was a lot of mishmash parking. So the reason I bought that was because supply demand. I looked in this Google map area and it was just covered in rooftops with no storage around, and everybody else was pretty full. My friends and other fellow operators were giving me a lot of slack saying, dude, if you're going to buy in that area of Tulsa, you'll buy anything, right? And yet I was comfortable based on purchase price going in, supply demand. That's it. And rooftops. We were covered in rooftop. But in order to feel like we were going to have a better exit on this, there was room to expand, and I felt like we needed to add a few more buildings to actually make it big enough for potentially a larger exit. So we expanded right away. We filled up right away. Old seller was saying, no, you're not going to fill up. Manager was saying, no, you're not going to fill up. But we know, they weren't real operators. So we felt differently. That facility at $500K about a year and a half later was making us about $14,000 a month. We weren't at the top, right? We weren't there yet. We knew we could push even more, but we implemented tenant insurance, raised rates, expanded, finished the expansion, all that's good stuff, upgrades, automations, but we were going to sell anyway. My guess is that property today with a new owner, they seem pretty sophisticated, and I bet they're doing close to 20 a month, right? So we cut ourselves short $6,000, but more importantly, we had another deal, a bigger deal, a deal just outside North San Antonio. There's going to be a lot of lessons in this as well. How did we find that deal? Off market, same way, with a trained self-storage VA from our team. For those of you who don't know, we actually place those for other operators as well, but our trained VA found a seller on a phone call, direct to seller. We negotiated. It was a brutal negotiation, but we eventually landed at a purchase price of $7 million. Some of you probably heard about this lesson before. She was hard to get a hold of. She was kind of felt like aggressive on the phone. We didn't realize that she had just gotten out of a big, messy, like 4-year divorce. Long story short, we did with all these other sellers, but we were consistently following up, and we built enough rapport. This deal we ended up buying because she made us do a blind offer without knowing any revenue, and would like basically hang up the phone. And one day I was like, look, Sheila, please just give me a unit mix and the square footage, and I'm going to make you an offer. And we did. And that's how we got the deal. Again, doing things that most people aren't willing to do, building the rapport that most people aren't willing to build. After we got a hold of her once, Michael and I tried her for like 3.5 weeks before we got her again. So all these little things, going the extra distance. The old deal in Tulsa, we kept going back and forth. It took us many months to close. At one point we backed out because we're like, dude, everybody's telling us not to buy this. One broker who owns self-storage in the area that works for Argus was like, it's not a home run. And then later told me how great the deal was, right? You're always going to go up against people telling you and being in your ear. And that's really important for you to, sharpen your axe and really continue the reps and understand all these different little weird, different pros and cons each market and each facility have, but ultimately doing your due diligence, trusting your instinct, and doing things maybe some people are willing not to do. So all of a sudden we had the perfect runway and roadmap, and it was that we had one distressed facility in Tulsa that increased revenue quite a bit. We ended up selling that, I think. They retraded in the 11th hour, and we're like, dude, whatever. If your money goes hard today, we're going to sell it to you. I think like 1.25, something like that. But we more than doubled. We bought it for $500K, right? And about 150 or something like that to expand. So we doubled our money. The Albuquerque property, we close to doubled, more than doubled our money, but more than doubled the purchase price. So we actually, I think, tripled or quadrupled what our actual down payment was. With Albuquerque, the 1.3 million, we ended up exiting for like 2.2, I think. So almost $1 million profit. But more important, the Albuquerque property was very distressed as well. And we had these two properties that were cash flowing, still had upside, full, great, making good money, but they're a pain in the butt. We could have refinanced both of those and pulled out a lot of money, but instead we then took both of those, sold them, and 1031 and spent no money out of our pocket to buy a $7 million asset. That $7 million asset's 75,000 square feet. It's in an incredible area. Another little lesson or two during this journey is we thought we were overpaying. The market was soft. I talked to 5 different brokers. One of the biggest selling broker in Texas from Marcus and Millichap, another buddy of mine at Marcus and Millichap, big people, and everybody but one broker said that we were pretty much paying market, maybe overpaying. The one broker, Charlie, our buddy, flew down in his plane, looked and walked the property, and he's like, I think this is worth $9 million. So to recap, the 11 unit I bought with 3 partners. We each put in like 60 grand. For us and my wife at the time, it was scary and it was all the money we had, but we took that risk. We knew there was upside. Albuquerque property, we 1031'd into that. So I had my 60 plus profit, and I think I had to come up with like another 100 roughly. Tulsa, 500K, about 150 in expansion. Let's just call it, I had to come up with about 75K, I think. So all of this money out of my pocket was roughly 175K out of my own pocket. I borrowed, I did whatever I could to get it because I saw the upside. With that and the right partners and the right choices, the seeds we planted, right, these little wins we had resulted in that money, we buying a $7 million property that we got an offer actually 5 months after we bought it for $9.7 million. So a $2.7 million profit. And we had to put $2 million down. Again, that didn't come out of our own pocket because of the 1031. So if we sold at 9.7, we have roughly $4.7 million to take out of that deal and go put somewhere else on another 1031. And so if you trace back to see where that started, it was small increments in the right deals. And that's wrapping all this up, the power of what we do, the power of real estate. So when you're frustrated, when you don't know if this is going to work, when you can't seem to find a deal, you have to keep going. When you think, oh man, but I only have 25K, 50K to invest. Well, what else are you going to do? Are you going to invest it in an ATV or a boat or a fishing rod, whatever? No, keep planting the seeds, keep making the investments. They will grow, I promise you, just like your house plants. It's just like your weight training, you know? Stay consistent in the gym for 5 years and see what happens. It's not gonna be 1 year, it's not gonna be 2 years of results. It's gonna take you 5 years, but see what happens. Consistency, the seeds we plant, what we can do with the power of a little bit of money and a lot of leverage, guys, is life-changing. Hope this helps. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next week, all right? Good luck out there. Peace.